G'day everyone, I'm Kersy and I'm going to review this Fender Custom Shop 1962 Jazzmaster. For a long time, I've never considered owning a Fender Jazzmaster. I thought they were pretty ugly. The shape of them, and the old-fashioned style, design, and then the story about it was just a failed attempt at Fender to create a guitar that jazz players would love. Well, I guess you should never say never, because I recently bought this beauty that I'm going to review today. I bought this guitar from the Chicago Music Exchange, and this video I'm going to do a full review of the specs, some close-ups of the build and finish, and look at the unique electronics. As with all of my videos, this video is not sponsored. I buy all my own gear, and this one was not cheap. I'll need about 2 million views of this particular video to cover the $5,000 price tag. It's a Fender Custom Shop 1962 Deluxe in Cielo Gray, which was created in collaboration with the Chicago Music Exchange. So they called it the Chicago Special Jazzmaster. Some of the most notable players of this design of guitar was Elvis Costello, Kurt Cobain, Chris Stapleton, and even Taylor Swift appeared on stage with one. Just a quick summary of the key features before I get into the details. The Cielo gray color. Cielo means sky in Spanish. It's an interesting kind of mid-gray color that you don't often see in guitars. But I like the mix of the gray with the white, and it just stuck out to me as a cool color that I would like to have, so that's why I got this one. The body is made of Alder, and it weighs about 8 pounds, just a little bit more than a Fender Strat that I own. The neck is maple, and the fretboard is rosewood, a nice dark rosewood. It's been closet worn, so it's aged, supposedly to emulate being kept in the closet in its case for 60 years, and it's got some interesting changes in the lacquer, which I'll show you close up, and some very, very mild wear and tear. It has the unique Jazzmaster tone controls for switching between lead and rhythm, and it has these soap bar pickups, not to be confused with P90s, which I'll talk about in a little bit also. Has this floating tremolo, which is quite nice. I'll look at that in more detail too. Anyway, like I said, I was never into the Jazzmaster designs, but they've started to grow on me, and so I think, this retro design is kind of cool. So let's take a closer look at the features and the workmanship, and of course, see how it sounds. First, let's talk about the body shape. It's got this contoured offset waist design that was intended to make the guitar more comfortable for playing in a seated position, as a lot of jazz guitarists like to do. It also has the familiar belly cut that's on a lot of guitars these days, and it feels quite comfortable, well balanced on the right knee, and also if you like to play on the left knee. So yeah, feels quite comfortable to play. So starting with the paint job finish, let's take a close-up look at what closet worn looks like. Alright, zooming in a little bit here, as you can see, the aged look is achieved by these fine cracks. There you go. The fine cracks are just on the surface layer, not deep enough to look like it would chip away any of the paint. The poly lacquer cracks were created by Fender through heating and cooling. It's quite a nice effect, but it's not the same kind of cracks that you would see in the nitrocellulose lacquer from the 1960s. This poly lacquer is not going to go yellow over time from UV as the nitro lacquers did, but I think this amount of cracking gives it a nice look. I'm not into heavy relicking, so this is more my style. There's only a few minor knocks and scratches on the body. I'll try to find a few of those. There's a small knock just near the bridge pickup. Flipping the guitar on its side, you can see some other little knocks into the top edge. Not very much at all. And this is one of the only other scratches that I really have seen. Standing back and looking at the guitar from a distance, it's very hard to see any of the aging that's been done. It's only when you get real close that you start to see it. The irony is, I would probably freak out if I scratched and banged up this 5000 guitar when I was at a gig, and yet I bought it with a worn look. But you know, when has a musician ever been known to use logic when making an emotional purchase? Starting at the tailpiece, let's work our way up the guitar to the neck. So this chrome-plated floating tremolo is exactly what you would expect to find on any Jazzmaster or Jaguar. You can pull up on the whammy or you can push down, hence the floating nature of the whammy bar. It's a floating tremolo with a tremolo lock, which is this button right here, and that prevents the bar from pulling up. It locks it in position, but it will dive down. So why would you care about that? There are two reasons. If you break a string, the guitar will stay in tune, and if you use alternative tuning, like a drop D, you won't need to go back and forth tuning every string to get everything balanced again. The Jazzmaster also has an extra long tremolo bar. And so this bridge and tremolo construction is very different from that of the Stratocaster and gives it a different kind of resonance and a little bit less sustain in general. The bridge sits on two fulcrum points and moves back and forth with the tremolo motion, and the functionality of this bridge is a topic that is widely discussed. Some people think that the clipped sustain is part of what makes this Jazzmaster sound unique, and others argue that it was a design mistake. Either way, it is what it is. And this whammy bar pops in like that into the sleeve. It doesn't screw in. It is a tight fit, but then again, you kind of want it tight so it won't fall out when you don't want it to. Moving on to the bridge, it comes with a nice chrome cover to hide the saddles. It just has a friction fit and you can pop it off like that. The saddles are adjustable for height with a hex wrench, and the saddles themselves have notches in them to prevent string movement, and there's a Phillips head screw to adjust the intonation just at the back there. The pickups are called Chicago Specials because they were custom developed with the Chicago Music Exchange. And as I said earlier, these soap bar style pickups, they look like P90s, but they're not. The pole pieces of the Jazzmaster pickups are magnets, but P90s have the magnets placed under the coil. And also these Jazzmasters are wound flat and wide, a lot more than the P90s, and obviously a lot more than the narrow and tall Strat pickups. All in all, this produces a much warmer and thicker tone without losing some of that single coil clarity. These are actually based on a set of 1961 Jazzmaster pickups and modified to have slightly higher output in the neck than in the bridge. This slightly overwound bridge pickup gives it a more smooth and round presence, and the neck pickup is moderately overwound, giving it more bottom end. And the guitar is actually set up to have higher output in the neck position than in the bridge. Both of these pickups are Alnico 5, which are potted in shellac. In fact, if you look at some of the pole pieces, you'll see that there's a bit of a coloration where the shellac is still on top of the magnets there. They're wound with 42 gauge enamel wire, which is supposed to give them a wide and open dynamic range. And the other feature in these windings is that each pickup are in opposite windings to each other. So when they are played in the middle position, the 50 or 60 hertz hum that you normally hear is cancelled out. Let's see how that sounds. Okay, let's move on to the electronics, which is one of the most unique aspects of the Jazzmaster. With this switch here, positioned in the down position, the electronics are similar to what you expect with any two guitar pickup. There's a switch to toggle between the neck, bridge, or both pickups, and there's a tone control and a volume control. Nothing unique there. But when you move the switch to the up position, it engages the neck pickup only, and then you can adjust the volume here at the front and the tone at the back. And this tone knob acts like a fine adjustment between the normal master tone that you would have over here, kind of between the 1 and 2 setting, or 0 and 2. Because this tone here has a 50 ohm resistance compared to the 1 mega ohm resistor in the lead circuit. So let's compare the range of tone controls through the neck pickup and compare them through each of these circuits. So why would you care about this rhythm circuit? Well, you have to turn back time and imagine not having an EQ pedal at your feet and the ability to quickly change between a preset darker rhythm tone and then the brighter lead tone. For me, this rhythm circuit is not much more than a cool relic of guitar history. And there's really not much need for it nowadays with effect pedals unless you just don't have any pedals and you want to be able to switch quickly from a very bright tone to something that is a lot more mellow. Moving up the neck, this is a rift sawn maple neck, which means that the grain is going to be consistent across the full length of the neck. And as you can see from the end here, you can see that the grain is on a diagonal, which is typical for a rift cut neck. And you can also see that the lacquer is also aged here through that same process. And we have a nice Custom Shop logo there from Fender. Supposedly a rift sawn neck provides better resonance, which would imply the neck is more stiff. The front of the neck is rosewood and it's fitted with a late 60s style truss rod that you need to remove the pickguard to adjust. The Jazzmaster guitars were the first Fender to have a rosewood fingerboard in an effort to make it look more conservative for the jazz audience. The headstock is the larger type, the same as a Strat, which is a change that Fender made in 1967. The original late 50s and 60s style wasn't as wide, and this one is color matched, unlike what you would have seen in any 50s or 60s Jazzmaster. I personally like the color matched headstock. I think it looks cool as a modern take on the original. The fingerboard radius is 7.25 inches, which is the original Jazzmaster radius, and the back shape is a 1959 tapered C shape and is quite comfortable. There are 4 bolts that attach the neck to the body, and the nut at the top is made of bone. So let's talk about the case that comes with it, because this is an often overlooked item in gear reviews. It's a very uninteresting brown, light brown vinyl exterior, but it does have a leather trim with a little bit of magic inside. Pow! Look at that orange. That looks really nice. It's plush and vibrant, and it says here that G&G are the manufacturer of this case. They're handmade in Los Angeles, and you should check out their website if you can and see their story. It's just a very small family-owned business that's been making cases for a long time. When you open up the storage compartment, there are a lot of goodies inside. There's a small feature manual. This looks like it was hand-drawn and designed back in the 1960s, and it has some instructions on how to set up and adjust the guitar. There's a Custom Shop sticker and a Fender's owner manual. Next we have a Custom Shop folder with a certificate of authenticity over here. And then there is the shop floor traveler, which has all the information and the details of the work order when it went through the factory. It also shows its birthday on the form, and it says that it was born on March the 4th, 2021. And finally, there is a 2021 custom guitar design guide. Well, that wraps it up for this cool guitar. So what do I like about this most? Well, I like the way it looks for sure, and the way it feels to play. The floating tremolo system is very smooth, and I kind of like the feel of that balance. and it sounds nice with the pickups. They certainly have their own tone, which I like. And then that ability to go from a dark to a bright tone in an instance is interesting, but I wouldn't say it's game-changing. I've heard there are actually a number of interesting ways that you can modify the circuit, but that would be another video. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments below. Thanks.